Hashtags, all about AYA cancer, covers issues relevant to adolescents and young adults impacted by cancer. Hashtags is a video podcast series presented by 1330 Cancer Connect.
Hey everyone, welcome to Hashtags.
All about AYA cancer.
I'm Sabrina.
And I'm Steve.
And this is part 2 of our episode all about dating and relationships.
Yeah, as you know, from the last episode, we got to sit down with Greg and Michaela. They kind of explain a little further about some of the other issues that they had, whether, having a relationship with their cancer, and they talk a little bit, maybe giving some advice to some of you out there that might be going through it right now, and what kind of things that they could look out for as well. At the end of this, I do want to chat with you a little bit and ask you a couple questions as well, because I was intrigued by some of the stuff that they were saying, and obviously working with you day to day, it's always interesting to know a little bit more about you as well. So
sounds good.
Just for the lookout.
Okay.
You can ask
All right.
Sabrina some questions too.
Well, let's get started and hear from Greg and Michaela.
My, emotional scar would be, for when I'm married, I get nervous that, my children will have cancer, and, I'm gonna have to be hey, there is, that very small potential that, our children could have it. Obviously, it doesn't run in my family, I'm the first, but, I think about, when they're young, and the doctor will be like, oh, is there a medical history of X, Y, and Z, and my children will be the first ones to be yes, there is. So that makes me nervous, but that's, so far out from where I am now, being 22, but I always think about that in a relationship, hey, this will be a factor. I mean, it's not guaranteed, but, there could be the potential that happens.
Yeah.
Sure. I never thought about it that way, but yeah. I wouldn't say I have any overwhelming emotional scar per se. I certainly have a number of scars, but they normally are they're received well. It's a question, and then it's oh, and I feel like girls kind of like scars anyways. So I'm not gonna say, but somebody who I was very interested in, and I would say we were mutual. I don't think I could focus on that aspect of myself and focus on someone else that much when I felt like I was going through that much, but it certainly the support was there. I remember I didn't really like being in my house. I hated being cooped up in my house, especially after I had surgery. I felt like I was trapped in my house for so long that I did anything to get out. And so I used to, I'd get picked up, and I remember feeling so crappy about everything that one day I got picked up and I just literally just cried, cried, and it was good to have somebody there who was just open to listening. I didn't need a response. I just needed to let out, and I felt like I didn't want to do that at home, because as much as my parents and my family were there to support me, I felt like I needed to be strong for them. I didn't want to, they were going through it too, and so I didn't want them to, have to deal with my, lost emotions, and so occasionally there was that time where, that whirlwind hits you, and, having an outlet somewhere, and that was my outlet, and I'm so happy that, she was there for me at that time, and that bond is, forever stronger because of it. In order to be comfortable in a relationship, you need to be comfortable in your own skin, and people find that in different ways, but I think cancer certainly makes you look at life a little bit different than people who don't go through the experience, and so there is a confidence that builds. But I think really it's important to be comfortable in your own skin, to be happy with yourself before looking for somebody else. And then once you do find somebody else who you are truly passionate about and you care for, to be open to their perspective as well, because that's really the balance is you got to be comfortable in your own skin and then be comfortable accepting someone else's. And I think if you're not prepared to do that, it will make relationships difficult for either party.
It's also cool too, whether you're the person in the relationship who's had cancer or you're the one who didn't, or if both of you did, it's just like a proud factor, I think, to be like, yeah, like my girlfriend or boyfriend like did that, and that's like really cool. And I think that's something that will help that person who has cancer to be supportive of them and to be really proud of them, because it is kind of crazy, and to feel that it's like, oh wow, like they appreciate my cancer in the sense of like what it built for me emotionally and confident wise, and then they like outwardly give that to you. I think it builds even more that confidence that you had from your treatment alone.
Thank you, Michaela and Greg, for sitting down with us. The last two episodes, both part 1 and 2, just extremely insightful. And a topic such as dating relationships, one of those touchy things, and what they had to say, what Greg especially had to say kind of resonated with me, being I'm not a cancer survivor myself, but just to be a better husband to my wife, and in communication and understanding. A lot of things that he said resonated with me. So I wanted to ask you, Sabrina, what kind of advice would you want to give? I know Greg did and Michaela did. What kind of advice would you give to someone that's going through it, either in the throes and goes or as a survivor?
Well, kind of what I said before, I could totally relate to a lot of the stuff that Michaela and Greg had to say, being that, being a cancer survivor and going through all that. I think one of the biggest things we just always have to remember is that what you went through is a strength. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's not something that you need to make excuses for or try to justify. Your journey is your journey, and it's a journey of strength and resiliency, and the right person is going to be like, wow, that was incredible that you went through that, and they're going to respect you for having gone through that. I think Michaela talked a little bit about that too, and I can really appreciate when you are getting to know somebody on a deeper level and they're actually being understanding of what you went through, and it's not something that they're afraid of. And if you do find you're in a place where someone's like, oh, I don't know if I can handle that, I'm afraid of that, well then, you have to also think that maybe some people just they can't handle it. So, and that's okay.
Or they might need more time.
They might need more time or whatever, but you can't, and you always have to remember too that you went through something very traumatic and very significant in your life. And the other person needs to be aware of your healing process. And I think we talked about that in our last episode when we were talking about scars. And your healing process is so important. And when you're in a relationship, it kind of heightens all of those things, because all this stuff that you went through, now you just kind of want to let it all out, and be really vulnerable and honest with somebody. And sometimes some of it's messy, and you got to be okay with messy. So kind of some takeaways, like I touched on already, just remember your strength, your experience, it's important, and just remember it as a strength in the right person, or the person that you're really getting to know, and you're going to understand that experience and support you in that. And lastly, just remember, and Greg talked about this, it's important to be comfortable in your own skin. I loved that he said that, because it's true. It's very true. You can't expect someone else to be comfortable with you if you're not comfortable with you. So
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. And all right, everybody ready? Power clap. 1, 2, 3.